I watch him roll away again. Yeah. I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide.
Maritime Matters is brought to you live by Bahamas Maritime Connection.
What is maritime?
Maritime, simply put, relates to navigation or commerce on the high seas.
Some say money makes the world go round. I say ships move the money that make the world move.
Who navigates those large international ships?
How often are international ships required to be surveyed and inspected?
Maritime also protects our seas and borders by way of our local Bahamas Defense Force.
It is very sad to say that out of 1,500 plus ships that are registered under the Bahamian flag, only a very small amount of Bahamians are employed.
Maritime Matters.
And pleasant good evening to you, our valued listening audience. Welcome one. Welcome all. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain, and our producer for tonight's show, of course, Mr. Sensational himself, the great Mr. Craig Gibson. We're coming to you live via Love 97 FM. This is Tuesday, the 8th day of July, 2025. And if it's a Tuesday, you know the deal. It's maritime. Tick, 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 tick. Matters. We encourage that if you are driving and tuned in with us, please do so cautiously and ensure to take your time in getting wherever it is you are trying to get safely. As the saying goes, drive to arrive alive. Our sponsors for tonight's show, One-on-One Pharmacy, and of course, Island Care Pharmacy. For all your medication needs, check out my little cuss, Shantia McBride, and her lovely team at 101 Pharmacy in Nassau, and of course, Island Care Pharmacy up there in Freeport. Fill your prescription at the store or send your refills via the online site, oneononepharmacy.com. That's oneononepharmacy.com. The three locations are East Street South, Charles Sanders Highway, and in Freeport, Explorers Way in downtown Freeport. We are secondly sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, and at BMC, we provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services. I say good night to my Annie Mae up there in Freeport, my number one fan, the Maritime Matters number one fan. That's my good old Annie Mae up there in Freeport. 92 years old, people, and still going strong. Strong. You know, dear listener, this past weekend was quite the glorious one for me. You see, I had the distinct privilege of attending church with Annie Mae up there in Freeport. And of course, we enjoyed a marvelous dinner and dialogue session after. But listen here, my Annie Mae could tell them old stories like nobody's business. Boy, that woman could talk, and she easy. You would think she 20 or 30. Annie Mae don't miss a beat. I tell you that. It was always such a joy to be in the company of my Annie Mae and, of course, her four lovely girls. So I say thanks so much, Annie Mae, and pleasant good night to you again, honey. You're listening to Maritime Matters, and on this show, we talk maritime. Tonight, we engage various recent maritime hot topics. The big one, continue to be boating entry fees for visiting mariners. That's the one that continued to dominate the local maritime headlines. Additionally, we wish to touch on the impending merger of MSC to the Grand Bahama Shipyard Limited ownership. So the hot topics he sought to engage include the following: the initial impact of revised boating fees for visiting vessels. You know, last week we licked this one left, we licked this one right, we licked this one center, up and down, because this one seemed to project a very negative black eye to our country. I mean, it's okay to have boating fees for visiting yachts, but then you're going to go way overboard to the extent that you have kickback from all kind of boaters and mariners. You have kickback, of course, from our own Ministry of Tourism, who invests millions and millions of money trying to get tourists to come in. They understand what's going on. You have kickbacks, in particular, from the marinas in our family islands, because those are the ones who depend on these boaters to keep their little community going from a financial perspective, because boaters contribute quite heavily. I mean, there ain't much of them on the island, you know, but they go and they sell fish to the boaters. The boaters come ashore and use their restaurants and bars and watch TV and make phone calls. And so let me tell you, it's amazing how boaters have such an extremely impacting presence in those family island communities. You think about communities like Staniel Key and Black Point and Harbor Island, San Salvador, even Great Inagua, all the way down there. Long Island got the regatta site where a lot of sailboats and it's a lot of sailing yachts. I wouldn't talk about Elizabeth Harbor. Come on, man. These people, they spend graciously to food stores to buy perishable items, canned goods, cooking items. They spend graciously in those restaurants and keep them alive. And you know, you got some yachts where the owners basically live on their boat. They don't even have a house, but they go all over the world, all over the Caribbean if they're out of the US, and all over Europe, and think if they're from Europe, and all the way to the Far East, Australia. I mean, these boaters, they tour areas around, and they ain't got a bunch of money to be spending just to clear to come to your country to spend money. You know, it's for Bahamians, for local Bahamians. If you got your own, you buy a little, I'll call it yacht, because our yachts are small, 30 foot, 40 foot, like we ain't got the money to buy the mega yachts, but we buy yachts, we buy speedboats, we could take our family out during holidays and whatnot, and then we go around. So to register them, we pay $1 or $2. My friend say $1 is $100, right? that's my Peter, right? Travis Richards. Travis always tell me, say, well, I probably call it about $7. I say $7? Yeah, 700. Travis has killed me with that buck talk, right? But I pay $1 or $2 if you got your own little yacht, and that's understandable because this is your country, and you won't register your boat. Just like you pay $1 or $2 to register your car. So that's understandable. But if you have people coming to visit, they already paid $1 or $2 where they coming from to register. They don't register in the US, they can pay for that. right? But why would you charge them more than you charging your own people to register their boat to move through your waters? They only come to visit. And if they're going to visit multiple countries, because they don't come to the Bahamas and stop, sometimes they go, some of them live on their boat, like I said, all the time they're out to sea. And they leave the Bahamas and they go to like Dom Rep, moving along. They probably pass Puerto Rico because they're a little big, right? So, and they really want to be around small communities. They ain't trying to be in no big city, right? Otherwise they stay in the States. And they go along that Eastern Caribbean chain, starting with like Montserrat and Dominica, and they go down to St. Kitts and what the next one named Antigua and Barbuda. They go to Guadeloupe and Martinique and keep going down. St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, and then you could be going from country to country. You can imagine if every time they reach a country, they tell them that'll be $1,000 just to be in our waters, because that's what we're telling them. Yes, I know. Our waters are more beautiful than all them put together. Well, I know what all them put together, because some of them got pretty waters, right? But our waters still more pretty than theirs. And we're not talking about people who go into the land and sea park to take, yes, but they're making money. No. You're talking about the fella with their own family, or that's the husband and wife, and they're on the boat for weeks and months, and this is how they live, because they retired, and this is their retirement. They ain't got no bunch of money to be spending time, but just to come and visit you. And go use go to your food store, use your restaurants, take taxi here, rent a car there because they want to do some moving around. These people living on their boat, the boat don't hold much. They guys spend money as they go. So why you can charge them more $1,000 every time they reach a different country? Our Ministry of Tourism is aware that this is a problem. I don't know who idea it was, but I know one thing. Whoever decision this was, they don't have a clue about yachts and vessels moving around that are not commercial, because they'll never do something silly like this. And I call it silly. It's really stupid, but I don't want to go that far, right? No, we're wrong for that. So the cruising permit fee needs to go right back to where it was, whether it was $300 or $200 or $400, somewhere in that range. And I need to stay there forever, because if you're spending all these millions of dollars trying to get people here, and you got a lot of people coming by air, I can tell you the number has increased exponentially in recent times, because every time I come from foreign and I go in the airport, it's full of people, loaded with tourists, right, trying to get clearance to come through. So we're not only having the exponential increase by ships, by cruise ships, it's also happening by airplanes. But yet when they come through, they don't pay no bunch of money to come in our country, because of course they can spend money, yeah? Even if they come to spend time with their own family, because we have a lot of Bahamians who come in the summertime to bring their kids and whatnot to get a feel of home, right? And they spend big bucks because they come in here, while they may live with a family member, they want to go to restaurants, right? They want to rent a car because they will move at their own pace. And so money spending anyhow. And so I say, we really don't want to put on these borders, because they just like, they visit us, they just say coming by air. Allow them to come in and spend some money without hitting them $1,000 just to enter. And then on top of that, you can talk about head tax for more than 3 passengers. I don't know what is passengers. I said that from last week. I don't have a clue, because passengers got to be for vessel carrying more than 12 paying passengers. That becomes a passenger vessel. That's SOLAS. We don't have no such thing as passenger vessel outside of SOLAS in the Bahamas regulations. So I don't know what they call passengers. I guess the Customs Management Act, I can look and see if I see anything that say what is a passenger on a vessel. I know it's a passenger on a plane because they pay. But if I come into my own little private, I don't know, do they charge people when they come on their own private plane if they bring their family, because they're not passengers, that's family members. They have to pay. I don't know. But anyway, we need to look at this passenger thing. When we talk about head tax, it's $30 per person more than 3, because that's utter nonsense in my opinion. Now for the charter yachts, yeah, let them pay, and you need to specify that this is for charter or commercial. Well, you can't. Well, the only thing you could be commercial to have a foreign vessel moving through these waters is charter. You ain't got no other provision to bring passengers, clear passengers in this country, right? Unless of course you're talking about vessels like what I want to name, what is go to Resort World, what is come out of the States with all them passengers. And they say more than 3. Now that's a passenger vessel. They got more than 12 every single time, right? But Valeria. Let's see about Valeria and them. But you need to specify that in these fees, because it's not specified. And then they talk about fees to anchor. Why you need fees to anchor? And boats are designed to anchor. That's what boats do. Oh, we got a phone call already. Lord, boy, you all see me running hot. I'm glad you all called this time. Anyway. Caller, welcome to Maritime Matters. Thank you so much for calling.
Captain Ben.
Yes, sir.
How are you today?
Top shape and getting better all the time. I ain't run hot yet, but I'm glad you slowed me down.
Well, I already slowed you down. I believe I can speed you up. This is the caller who called last week concerning that situation in Ragged Island.
In Ragged Island, I recognize the voice, and I am so happy that you called back, and I'm glad you're keeping me on point with that. So talk to us, man. Let us know if you find out any more on the developments of what they want to do.
I haven't found out any more information, but I can tell you that we have addressed a letter to Chester Cooper,
right,
and copied it to Wayne Monroe and Moxie. I don't remember Moxie's first name, the Commodore.
Floyd Moxie.
We haven't received a response. Not yet.
Okay, but the letter is registered. You delivered those letters were delivered, so we know that they see those letters.
Those letters were sent to them by email and by text.
Wonderful. So as far as we concerned, they are aware, and they have time to make some adjustments to make sure they're doing this thing right.
Exactly.
I with you, my brother, because we got to remember now. This is like I was saying last week. This is the largest, most impacting maritime, not only maritime event in the Bahamas, period. National event. That's right, because we have nothing worse than this, where a foreign entity attacked Bahamian workers, whether it was customs, immigration, or and actually killed 4 people and put the rest of the people's lives in jeopardy. Another 15 people's lives in jeopardy while they're swimming in the water and gunfire firing at them.
Well, okay, I want to enlighten you about it a little bit more.
Yes.
Chester was spoken to while we were having that meeting that I alluded to, reported to you that we had, that told me to call you last week. And he promised the chief consular that he would have had a meeting with him the following day, knowing full well that he was in Canada.
Well, that's fine. At least we know.
That ain't fine. Because that's lying. That ain't really disingenuous.
Well, I'm saying it's fine because at least we know that he got the message.
On my laptop in there.
Yeah, at least we know that he got the message.
Let him know I'm out of the country, but then I will listen to you as soon as I'm back. Let him know when you'll be back, and let him make an appointment or some arrangement to see you. This guy lives in Ragged Island. Chester is flying with our money, so he can go to Ragged Island. As a matter of fact, this guy lives in Ragged Island, was appointed chief consular in February, and has not had a meeting with Chester Cooper since that happened.
Wow.
Which is ludicrous.
It is, and I agree with you that yes. You absolutely right, caller, and I support you in taking the stance that you're taking, because it should not happen that way.
It's not only that. I also want to tell you that I have spoken not on this matter, but some people who are chronic callers and who call your show. Some of them I know have called your show. So they listen to you. And they would have heard those comments. And they would know that this is a national matter. But because this was something that was disrupting the lifestyle and whatnot of Michael Pentard, of Hubert Menace, of Hubert England, or one of them, they would have been calling and had all kinds of comments and all kinds of solutions.
Long time.
But they are very quiet on this national issue.
Yep.
Before who is doing it. And to me, that is bias. It is outright disingenuous of them. They're chronicles to radio shows. But in no them, they'll pick it up because of who is doing it.
Friends, family, and lovers.
Well, you see, I am not afraid. Never been and never will be.
Well, you, me, and a couple of us still around, eh?
Oh yes, most definitely.
Yeah, so let's keep the fire burning under their feet. And we're not settling for just anything, eh?
Yeah, nobody called you after I would have spoken to you last week, right?
I didn't get one single call.
Okay, I got busy and couldn't listen to the rest of the show. But it's just something that I thought must have been, it had to have been registered as a public complaint for national interest.
Yeah.
And now I'm following up to make sure you have it.
Yeah, well, so... Well,
I'm trying to make sure that those chronic callers who don't write the calls that they're making, and some of these guys when we call these other talk show, I'm going to call after them, you know.
Well, let's try and...
They're nothing but hypocrites.
Well, let's try and get some details first, because, you know, in the absence of details, it's hard for them to make a comment, eh?
Well, you know...
Let's try and get those details.
I'm going to make an effort to get you the information that was sent, that I spoke to just a while ago.
Yeah.
That was emailed to Chester Cooper, Lee Monroe, and to the Commodore of the Defense Force.
So we also want to get some details as to, well, you say the church wanted the record there, but we know where we wanted. We wanted at the site on the south side where they came in from the fishing boat, and where that's where we wanted. So we need to know that they're going to change the location first of all, where they're going to erect whatever, and we're going to know that whatever they're going to erect is going to be something appreciative that we can look at and be proud of.
Well, honestly, Glenn, we want something. I'd be saying that it came ashore, but we don't want that to be the official thing. So gunpoint has been a part of the defense of this country from the acquisition of Great Britain from the Spaniards in the 1700s. We now have a defense force base at that location. And it's the defense force that has been, in my mind, disturbed, disrupted, and really humiliated to a certain degree, and so we figure that is the best place for it.
Well, what I would like to see at Ragged Island, I would like for a visitor in a yacht to be able to go and retrack what happened from the time those fellas left that vessel, where they landed, where they had to walk, where they ended up by the police station, where the police made the call. See, I want this thing to be able to be traceable.
Yeah, this is why I said it is something that needs public discourse.
Yeah, well, all information...
And I am saying to you that what I and a whole lot of other regulators believe is that something should be said or something should be posted at this point of landfall. Here is where the men who survived the attack on the Flamingo landed.
Exactly.
And the actual monument and everything else that is going to be put up in their honor should be at the Defense Force base.
Well, we could put something at the Defense Force base also. But yes. I think that spot where they actually came ashore, yes. I think that should really be highlighted more than anything else.
I am totally agreeing with that. And the only person who is able to do that right now is John Wallace.
That's right, because Leo is gone.
Yes.
So it was only John Wallace and Leo Kirby who knew exactly how to take that track.
And you see, I think that those two guys deserve as much recognition as anybody else who is on that boat, including him as well.
Absolutely. I agree with you 1,000 times.
Everyone who was able to get them into a place where the MiGs and the helicopters were not able to do anything to them afterwards because they were among the population.
Well, we got to remember too now, Dusty Miller's the one who found the steering pin and caused them to be able to get out of that area.
Trust me, I have the utmost respect for Dusty.
Well, we talking about a couple people, but all of them deserve equal recognition.
I'm sorry, Dusty. You carry on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I think we need to. I really wish I could get John Wallace on the show. I know him very well. To find him and for him to be willing is a different matter. But I am going to pursue that again to try and get John Wallace on the show, even if he could only give us the details of how they actually, got from that vessel when it stopped, and how they guided the men to get to the police station and make that call.
Right. Well, that's where they landed. It's just outside the airport. So once they got on the airport, the rest was history.
Yeah, but they still had to know how to navigate that in the pitch of dark. That was dark.
The recognition that John needs to get, because he is the only person who could actually take you directly to the land wall and take you into the township. That's what we call it.
Especially in the dark, eh? It was 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm with you, my brother. I'm with you 1,000 times, and I really appreciate you keeping us abreast. And as soon as we could get some details, I think you're going to find that a lot of people would piggyback and support this venture by way of calling talk shows and whatnot, because we need to make sure this thing is done properly.
And honestly, I believe you can expect one or two more, not more, but prominent people from Ragged Island who support this effort to call you and fill you in some more with some of the things that I may have left out.
I appreciate that, and we always wide open, especially for situations like this and anything maritime. But this one, we take a whole month every year to address the Flamingo incident. So anytime is good for us.
And I feel very depressed about those corner callers who have a solution to every other problem in this country, but that one, they are very silent because of where it's coming from.
Well, not only where
who would have orchestrated it, and we have signatures from just about everybody on Ragged Island, other than the people who have the contract.
Okay, so let's just keep the ball rolling.
I also forwarded to William Monroe, whose birthplace is Ragged Island.
That's right. He's a Ragged Island man.
The early part of his upbringing was in Ragged Island.
Absolutely.
Okay?
You hear that last name, man.
He has this information. So does Chester Cooper, and Chester Cooper is laying claims some things that he has done in Ragged Island, and Chester Cooper has done zip in Ragged Island. He dedicated some things. None of which he is responsible for putting on Ragged Island.
But
the airport terminal, the solar system, the school, the unfinished school, and the unfinished clinic.
Yeah, remember too that the leader of the
opposition... I am not afraid to say it, and, he is claiming these things. Get him to go on Ragged Island and lay claim to them in front of the Ragged Island.
Yeah, I want you to remember that the leader of the opposition also has roots in Ragged Island.
I am totally aware of that.
So we got to make sure keep him in the room.
I told you, I am a born and bred Ragged Islander.
You're a man from Ragged Island, but we can't leave him at the loop because he's the leader of the opposition, and he has to be the same way you're dealing with everybody else. Let's make sure get his views on this too.
And I will deal with him on a more personal level.
Thank you very much. All right, my brother.
I tell you, I never was scared.
But I am so happy again to hear from you on this, and that you're keeping us abreast of this. And again, feel free to call anytime once we have on this show, and I will be more than happy. And we're gonna be pushing together to try and make this, And okay, got another caller on the line. Carl, I see you on the line. We'll be with you in a minute. But to make this exactly what it should be for those men.
That may be a regular in course, so I'm going to let you go.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man. Take care, and we'll keep in touch.
You take care, and God bless you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Calling you on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Yes, God's blessings to you, Captain Dane. Glenn Dane, how are you and your family and all of your Addie May and all the rest
there you
in
go.
Bahamas?
I'm in top shape and getting better, my dear. How are you? It's been a while.
I'm blessed. Thank God for Jesus Christ of Nazareth. You know, I'm one of those chronic callers, and I just happened to listen in.
That's
you
right.
You should return your show to 7 p.m. on Tuesday. As people have been, out of touch with you.
Oh, so you know, a lot of people, more people be in their cars at 5, so we get more listeners at 5. But everybody, I told everybody that normally listens to the show that we would be changing. But we ain't going back to 7. We can stay to 5. So now that you know it's 5.
They have changed. They haven't changed the PSA because it's still saying 7 p.m. when it's advertised on Love 97.
Yeah, that's my fault. That's my fault. They keep asking me, so I can't blame them for that. It's really my fault, and I apologize for that. Dog.
Now you know better than that. You are the disciplinarian. Mary Johnson, the original, and I must give thanks to the Almighty God, through Jesus Christ of Nazareth, and the Holy Spirit enveloping us.
Yes, ma'am.
Our Bahamas is in the dilemma because the One Bahamas National Financial Freedom Development Plan was taken to Grand Bahama, which I think it was Mr. O.B. Ferguson, now King's Counsel, and that's when he made Sir David Knowles apologize for slavery and racism, and our white Bahamians were kept in eternal hell. Okay, they were being treated worse than the colored people, and we have the history on that. And that is one of the reasons why I often share that all of our nation leaders must come together, because I was one of the first military before law started women in 1985. Okay, because I did some research, hygienic experimentation down in the back of the bush, and I don't want to go into all the details. However, we have funds that we already earned, and between the 3 first world nations, we will come together, because my area is the Paranormal Investigations Unit, and that has to be transferred and shared, the information with the Royal Bahamas Police Force, regular investigations, because this goes beyond, and it's geopolitical, okay?
So
and the money that was promised shall be delivered under the PLP-led Philip Edward Brave Girls, because we have people who are disrespecting the elders. Yes, Mr. Pintard has a chance to become probably Prime Minister next 10 years or so. However, he ought to be realizing that he has to clear some things on his name, because that murder for hire that he was involved in, he just can't stand over that and say he out of Ragged Island, and he out of Ragged Island, he stand firm, and he has some Wilson blood in him, man. He has to clear that Wednesday still coming up.
Yeah, but
because that is an official geopolitical outstanding matter, and that will keep him back on the FNM.
Ms. Veronique, we want to talk, but what they could do about the Defense Force structure that they want to erect for the people who survive and their families, and make sure they do it right, and what you saying about that, though? That's what I want to hear about.
Now you have a Ragged Island man, and you hear me to say as the best Minister of National Security to date.
Yes. So we gotta get this right then.
In the Bahamas.
So we gonna get this right then. And I just want to know that at the end of the day.
Mr. Monroe, I tried to help them. I told them call a meeting with former Prime Minister Hubert Alexander Ingram, because there were some financial atrocities that is outstanding, and former Prime Minister Minnis, he highlighted that $500 million. That was international when he made that statement. And we have certain information reference to correcting that we have expatriates who are dealing with ECT activities all the national insurance funds were being pulled out. I tried to help them, but they underestimated me. I don't need to wear no doctorate degree or no master's. Just action and actualize the solution for divine, inspirational, motivational comfort for all Bahamians first, and then by extension, share the template. That is, course, intellectual, patent, and copyright. That's money, and it will happen under the PLP because the F&M reject and disrespected Mr. Ingram, and now they disrespecting Mr. Menace.
So we talking about the Defense Force fellas who went through all that travesty. Some of this money they can get some money after all that.
Absolutely, okay. Because what went down, when Mr. Retired Deputy Commissioner, Mr. Keith Mason,
right?
He started out the training for the Defense Force. You were aware of that, right?
Well, yes, at the police college, yeah, that's right.
Down at the college,
right?
And he was the commander when the Independence Parade happened. He was there for when King Charles came. He was Prince Charles at the time.
That's right.
But Queen Elizabeth did not come.
But back then the boat didn't sink yet, though.
Pardon?
Back yet, the boat didn't sink yet. The boat didn't sink
I
until 1980.
know, 1980, May of 1980.
Yeah, well, I don't want to go back. Yeah, I don't want to go back to all that because
people could understand.
We already running out of time, so we need to get to how these fellas can get some reparation.
That will be dealt with the PLP. The F&M must stand by, because you have one fellow who said he speaks to the F&M. He now owns the COI. He said he owns the COI, and he now started the UDP. And he said that the best. The new form is stealing other people's money, other people's intellectual property, and other people's identities. Great God from Zion, ain't no real people who are biblical practitioners will root for their coup. God bless you.
God bless you too, darling. And thank you so much for calling. You ain't called me for a while.
Right.
You take care. All right. That's my good friend, Miss Veronique Johnson. And Miss Veronique, promise me now. I want to know that's a promise I owe her, that she's going to see to it that the PLP give out some reparations to those Defense Force men. That, it was 19 in total. 4 died on impact. 4 died since the incident. And 11 still walking amongst us. So we want those 11 to get their reparation now. And the families of those 8 that are no longer with us to also get their reparation now. Ms. Veronique Johnson promised that that's going to happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, we can leave that alone. And I thank my caller from Ragged Island for keeping us abreast of the situation, that they have lodged letters and emails to the appropriate authorities to really look into this matter and ensure that, when something is done down there, because apparently the progress is onward to get some replicas, well, not replica, but some statues and memorial paraphernalias and whatnot mounted at Ragged Island, which is the site of the landing of the survivors. Pitch dark. Midnight, right after midnight. And they had to trek their way from the captured craft, the fishing vessel, walk through the water to reach land, because they ain't got no dock or they could pull up to and just keep their foot dry. Well, they all been in the water swimming for their life anyhow. And then find around the airstrip to the town, where the police on duty was awakened and made that call by high frequency radio, the police HF radio, to Nassau to let them know that the Flamingo had been destroyed and the men and prisoners are at Ragged Island. And that's all I'll say for now, because we lick that left, right, and center. We can't get enough. Come May again, we'll be doing a month of the Flamingo incident. In the meantime, as things develop, we will bring it to you bit by bit, and we want to make sure that what is being done in decency and in order, so that we all could be proud of how the country marks that actual incident. For locals and tourists alike to be able to go down to Ragged Island, or whenever they actually go down to Ragged Island, they can retrace what actually took place and be proud of the history that will be captured to explain exactly what happened. And we're not going to stop at Ragged Island now. No, we got to get the entire Bahamas, well, Nassau in particular, because of course this is where the boat was launched. Nassau, this is where most of our people are, this is where most of our tourists are. So we got to make this island an island that spells out the story of the sinking or destruction of the HMBS Flamingo, those 4 men, and how the other 15 men had to struggle and fight for survival. All over this island could tell that story. The taxi driver can do tours on Flamingo sinking or destruction only. They can do a full 3-hour tour because they're going from point to point to point where there are replicas, where the statues of the men, where the posted scripts in certain areas, and let the world know that this is our biggest story this country has to tell. Because it will never happen again. It has never happened in no other country in this hemisphere where a foreign military entity made during peacetime a wartime attack on another nation. So we got a lot to tell. We pushed it under the carpet initially, and then it came out peace, and we still ain't doing nothing for the men who 100 years from now, they wish they had done so much for them. Maybe even 50 years from now. Maybe even 20 years from now. But let's do it now. Is my cry, and the cry of the Ragged Islanders, and of course, the cry of those near and dear to those 19 men. So, back on course. We were talking about the initial impact of the revised boating fees for visiting vessels. And we talk about the cruising permit. The cost is extravagant. I think it's over $1,000 for vessel, I think between 30 and 50 feet or something like that. And then $3,000 for those over 100 feet. And it's just super imposed. It should not be nowhere near those fees, eh? So let's get it right. And then they talk about head tax. Once you got more than 3 persons, they say passengers. I don't think they made passengers because there's no such thing as passenger, the meaning of passenger under the Customs Management Act. You get passengers, of course, when you're dealing with your charters. A charter vessel that is charging people to come and bring them into the country to do charter. But when people come in on their own boat with their wife or their husband or their family or just a group of friends or whatever the case may be, no man, they can't be charging them for that. For $30 a hit, no, that we gotta be wrong for that. I don't think no country in the world does that. And I was a maritime man, so I can tell you, not when it comes to private vessels. Now, talk about anchorage fees. We said that we can make Nassau Harbor and most other harbors just no anchorage. You're not allowed to drop no anchor in the harbor. Now, if you want to go on the outskirts or on forward area and drop your hook, fine. But you're not going to drop anchor in our harbor. Wherever we think we want you to stop and it's not a marina, we will put mooring buoys there for you. And that can't be much places in the harbor either. Because and those boats are on the buoy, on the mooring buoy, you don't want them nowhere near where people are going to be. Because we don't want people getting impacted by the sewage coming from those vessels on anchor, or on not on anchor, but on buoys. No buoy near where people could be. If you can put buoys, make sure they're near no beach. And that's the whole of Nassau Harbor. But you can put them in the busy area between the bridges and in that area. So the only other two areas is the east and the west. Now west, you can't put them down because you got Long Wharf Beach. And the east, you got Montague Beach. So we don't want you going to Marina. That's my view, right? And we say if they got tow attendants, they can pay more money. Only the big ones would have that. And then we say we can give a frequent digital cruising card, which is a digital card like a credit card for you, which will be good for 2 years. But again, for that, come on, man, don't kill the people. You're charging far too much money. So let's look at that. And then they talk about the AIS for vessels over 50 foot long. Well, first of all, it's the AIS for what? That's automatic identification system, right? And the AIS is really designed for ISPS. That's really designed for vessels that are doing commercial trade, right? So that they could protect each other. Not for boats doing these short voyages and private boats and this type. They don't need no AIS. But our government is trying to demand that they have it just to come to the Bahamas. Whose idea was this? How silly is this? No, man. Don't do that to them. You're causing them to pay a couple $100 to put an equipment on their bridge. What they don't even need. They're not even supposed to have. What they can do with AIS just for our government to see if they was here? And which entity in our country is going to be able to say, well, we go check those AIS against where did they come? And you get the information from customs, which you need AIS for. If they want to swing it and turn on the AIS anyhow, it do not make sense. Or does not make sense. However it's supposed to be. Misty, please don't call me, tell me I talk in bad English. It does not make sense. Got another call on the line. Which line, boss? 3? Caller, you on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Hey, Glenda.
Hey, honey, how are you?
This is Brenda Barry.
Miss Barry, what you saying, honey?
I'm ready for the past 2 years. Many years I work on as a therapist.
Yes.
And then I listened to your show last week, and a lot of the yachts you see come here, they go down and stand in the key, and they're doing charters. Those people are making money.
I agree, and those ones we can hit hard, but a lot of them are not doing charters and are not making money.
They're not paying from that.
Yeah, no, but they gotta pay more. Miss Barry, do you know how much those ones have to pay?
Check the harbor with those yachts and stuff.
Yes, but they have to pay.
And stuff, and see how many people they have on those boats and stuff. Venturing off into the Bahamas to see how beautiful it is.
Yes, darling, but we starting. They have to pay 14% of the value of every charter they do. They paying big bucks. We ain't talking about them sets, We talking about the set who. The man and the woman who own one boat and they just go from country to country. That's just because they don't retire. We ain't talking about people who making money off their boat. We talking about people who don't make no money. They ain't trying to make no money. They're just trying to chill out.
Well,
why you can make them pay $1,000 just to come in our country?
Two people can talk together, but they can't sing together.
Yeah, but they need to spend all. They need to spend all that money either. Eh?
Pardon me?
Ain't no country in the world is charged that kind of money for them to just come in the country.
Right, everybody has choices.
Yeah, so we got to be reasonable. That's all we say.
Okay, but I'm not dominating you to a certain extent, but I would like to change the conversation on that behalf of the price. Because everybody have their prices.
So what you want me to change it? But this is what's in our dailies every day. That's what everybody talking about. So this is a maritime show, and I just trying to clear up some things.
Baby.
Yes, darling.
Those people that venturing off on those sailboats, what was constructive when you made comments concerning where people supposed to park their boats and so forth?
But that's what we talking about now.
But like you said, by motor fuel, a lot of by their pilot houses it is and stuff and all around there.
Yeah, we gotta address all of that.
And down by their what the place name? The restaurant that's coming up with the place where the old police station used to be.
Right.
Because when that accident occurred the other day inside the water, my mind thought about you.
Well, you know, you know, you you're a Little Creek woman, so you know about these things.
You know that, baby.
Thank you very much. Well, you know how we go.
Don't dominate the pricing.
Right. I thank you so much for listening.
Because they could come. Okay,
Yeah.
you have a pleasant evening, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, darling. Appreciate you so much.
Because of the price.
Yeah, we can make sure.
Don't mind using the market. Cool, time and collector. They ain't complaining because they know they're straight.
Oh no, but you know they doing this thing all over the world. They going all over the Caribbean. You know, other country charging them. We charging $2 more than any other country. That can't be fair, man.
Don't leave out the parking zones before you go to start. But check Stanley Key out.
Yeah, but Stanley Key.
What you doing is fast.
I got a call from Stanley Key and they complaining. They saying that they don't. They this time the time ran American independence. They just have a whole heap of yacht on the outside of Stanley Key, and right now they only got about 2 or 3 because of these fees. And people ain't stupid. You know, these people they all them making money. You know.
They say that about their opinion.
Yeah, all
because they're not, the chips is down right now. But when you see the holiday come after Thursday, and or even let's say they have problems around the world with different floods and stuff, they can mention off in the Bahamas. The Bahamas is the best.
That's good, but we don't need to take.
Not only Bahamians listening to you, so listening to you too.
Exactly.
And you know, hey man, come on.
And I want them to listen to me, but we shouldn't take advantage of them because they come in here. That's all I said. So thank you, Annie. Okay, Miss Brenda. Oh, that's my good buddy, Miss Brenda. Anybody who need a good massage, check out Miss Brenda, man. Brenda Barry, Little Creek Andress. She not easy. Oh, that's where Marlon from. Marlon should know Brenda good too. That's Mr. Independent Thinker, by the way, my boy. He's only come back on the air. Made him talk the other day. He said, he ain't long now. He'll be back soon. So we was talking about all these fees that these people are charging. The Ministry of Tourism is crying about it, like I said. The marinas are crying about it, especially the Family Island marinas and Family Island areas where these people go to drop anchor and hang out and stuff like that. They complaining a lot because these are the entities that keep them alive and keep them going. And they know some of these people by name because they come every year, you know. We don't want to do this to unnecessary stuff to them. Now we go on to MSC. We are going on to MSC, what it is, the company with the big yachts, MSC Cruises, right? They are joining, if they haven't done so already, but I know they're supposed to be anytime now, if they haven't done so already, the Grand Bahamas Shipyard Limited as a partner. You know, the Grand Bahamas Shipyard Limited is owned by Carnival Shipping, Royal Caribbean International, and the Grand Bahama Port Authority. And they owned in this order. 40% for Carnival, 40% for Royal Caribbean, and 20% for Grand Bahama Port Authority. So they want to give MSC an opportunity to join. So now they'll have 3 majors, right? Because what they could do with MSC, you see, you got to remember now, cruise ships have to come out the water at least once every 2 years. And these cruise ships are getting so huge that the Grand Bahama Shipyard right now is operating with only 1 submersible dock. Because the other 2, the Hurricane, I think, messed up one, and then one of the big ships from Royal Caribbean, Oasis class, was so heavy it damaged the other big one. So the 2 of them are sidelined, and they're replacing them with even larger, stronger submersible docks. So they're going to become the largest dockyard or shipyard where operational ship come to be serviced. They call it ship care in this hemisphere. In other words, on this side of the world, right? In the Americas. And with MSC now coming on stream, they got more money and more leverage to make it even larger, and it will become eventually, they're projecting that it will be the largest ship care facility in the world, the whole world, not just the Western Hemisphere. And if you don't think that's a big deal, then you don't have a clue. Because I can tell you that's a big deal. And in my view, in my humble view, it would appear that they can make great for Disney. Because you know Disney got a lot of ships. And Disney's in this region. And Disney needs to dry dock every 2 years also. So if Disney doesn't hop on board and bring even more financial, and what they call it, they say these mergers, right? Provide for enhancement of the facility's commercial prospects and long-term sustainability. So the shipyard is there for decades to come. Decades to come. But we, the people of the Bahamas, spearheaded by the government of the Bahamas, we need to ensure that employment of our people advances along with the advancement of this big time ship care facility. Because that ain't get nowhere to go. And we ain't get nowhere to go. But what are we going to do to ensure that our people could get on ships as fitters? First of all, train them. Get them properly certified. They can get on those ships as fitters. They can get on those ships as engineers. Those 50,000 plus international ships. It don't have to be cruise ships. It could be cargo ships. But engineers at the level where they could become chief engineers. Ratings at the level where they become fitters on board ships. So that once they get the appropriate experience on ships, they can now move on to the Grand Bahama Shipyard and take up those positions that Bahamians are not qualified to take up. So where we got to start? We got to start with maritime training. The Lowell J. Mortimer LJM Institute on our key. And the BDVI, I understand the two of them will intend to do some mergers to create some maritime courses to get some of our people certified at those levels. But we need to ensure that they bring in experts who know about fitting, so that the fitters could be just like they train in everywhere else in the world, like Philippines and India and well, used to be Ukraine. They ain't really doing Ukraine too much now because you know what's going on down there. But they have areas where they have big time training going on to feed those 50,000 ships. And Bahamians can join that rank. If the government would put its feet on the Bahamas Maritime Authority to ensure that from a technical perspective, the Bahamas Maritime Authority is ensuring that our National Training Institute for Maritime, which based on what's been happening recently, is the LJM Academy on our key, because the government is pumping money into that. The BMA is pumping money into that. And of course, they already got the setup. So, we, the people of the Bahamas, need to find a way to qualify our own people so that they could take up these roles at this ever-burgeoning ship care facility called Grand Bahama Shipyard Limited. And we need to find no excuses as to why they got 600 and 700 foreigners there. Because most of them could be replaced once we get certified to do those things. But without certification, we'll cry forever. Even if we don't get one of those jobs in 10 years, but 10 years plus, we're getting all of them, or we're getting at least 50% of them. Because we're training our people on an ongoing basis to get those jobs. But we got to set it up, we got to plan it out, and we got to make sure the BMA does its role. The BMA has, in the Bahamas Maritime Authority Act, either the 4th or the 5th obligation under the law is to create and expand opportunities for Bahamians in the maritime sector. So if you got this big facility with hiring 2,000-3,000 people when it's all finished, at least 80% of them could be Bahamians in the next 20 years if it is properly planned out, if it is properly managed, because the BMA has the obligation to audit this institution. And they know how to audit an institution for training, because you got people at the BMA who were serving on board ships as engineers, who were serving on board ships as deck officers and well, I'm not sure about the rating part because they don't really need them, right? But they know how maritime school's supposed to be. And then recently we had a changing of the guard, at the LJM Academy. We had Dr. Claire who moved off the scene because she's gone into retirement. And you got to give her a hand for holding the fort from inception of this institution to where it is today. Now, Dr. Claire's my good buddy, right? She's a good. She's been on the show and she had some of her staff, the technical and the whatever you call it, registration people and all the rest of that, right? And they were doing things. I see you on the line, call. I'll be with you in a minute. But they could only do or take this school as far as they're capable of taking it, because Dr. Claire never been to maritime school or work on board a ship. So we need somebody who's going to bring that experience and expertise to the table. Is that what this new entity has to bring to the table? Call you on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Yes, Captain Bain. This is Captain Bain.
Hey, Captain Bain. How goes it, my friend?
Everything is I love the topic that you're discussing, particularly as relates to maritime and us being prepared for opportunities within the sector.
Thank you very much. We got to plan it out, eh?
Yeah, but the problem is, in my opinion, we apparently want these things to happen as a country and as a people, but the reality is we're not prepared, because at the end of the day, when you have, for example, the Grand Bahama Shipyard, when you have a welding job to do, for the certified.
You're breaking up, Captain Brain. I don't know.
Yeah. You can hear me now?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah. First and foremost, persons have to be certified as welders or as fitters and the like. And we have to have our act together as a country. And when you talk about training institutions and the like, we need to have institutions that are geared, and the training is geared specifically for this type of
employment, right?
Important type work, because at the end of the day, no cruise ship or no tanker or whatever gonna be satisfied with persons who are not duly qualified and certified to work on the ship. So,
but not only that, they got to be class approved, eh?
Of course. So we as a country, we got to have our act together, and we can't blame nobody.
No.
If foreigners are if the shipyard is forced to bring in foreigners, because we have to have our act together. We have to make sure that we determine what the needs are at the shipyard. Then we have to also determine, then we have to make sure, put in place plans to ensure that those particular needs are being addressed through training and preparation, because at the end of the day, we as Bahamians, we are very quick to say, well, make plenty of noise, but then who are the people who are trained to do it, or who will take up the mantle?
Or where's the planning to have people prepared to do it?
Exactly. So my thing is, we have to get our act together, and we have to make sure that at the end of the day, we are closing the loop in terms of persons who opportunities for Bahamians, and that we are preparing Bahamians for these opportunities when they arrive.
But guess what, Captain Brain? You realize that this dry dock was in place now for over 20 years, and not one piece of planning from the government's perspective has been launched, gearing toward making sure that we have proper fitters, because we can shake hands with the Philippines and send some of our people over there initially, get them out on ships where they have to be welding all the time and fitting all the time, and over 10 years they would be more than prepared to come in and class can certify them to do, or they could join the companies that are being hired that are class certified to do these things. But our government gotta deliberately involve the BMA in ensuring that these trainings are going to become available. We're going to seek students. We could go into high schools and let them start from there, if we're serious.
But I don't know if we really, I don't know if we in all honesty, I remember, and I stand to be correct, I remember people like Smurf and a lot of other ex-PDF guys who went over there. They were intimately involved in the training process, and Bahamians were being prepared.
No, but Brother Forbes was dealing with. He was actually working for the shipyard. They were bringing in apprentices that the shipyard was paying. Government had nothing to do with this.
But that's the point. That's the point I'm making now. So we had a system in place, and I'm not sure where we are with that particular program, but Bahamians were being prepared.
No, but they were not being prepared as fitters. They were really coming in for middle management. These were people that were actual cadet apprentices that came in to prepare them to be middle managers, not to be doing welding and fitting and not at that level where the majority of people are coming in to do.
Well, that speaks to, in my opinion, a situation where when we look at, and I've seen on numerous occasions on television and various conferences that I would have attended in Grand Bahama, where persons where there were plans for Grand Bahama, the different entities would have made presentations and the like. It just tells me that in our overall planning for Grand Bahama and for the opportunities that may avail themselves now and futuristically, we just haven't done a good job, because at the end of the day, the shipyard is putting together the two big new dry docks and the like, and people, and they're gonna invariably need more people to do work there, and I'm not sure what that planning would have looked like, or if there are plans for this new facility and how they're gonna staff it and the like. But it's to me, it's just that I don't know whether or not we do a good job or any work really and truly besides complain when the foreigners come in. We gotta get our act together first.
Yeah, but what happened in the Philippines? They knew that the world fleet, the over 50,000 commercial ships, need certain seafarers in all areas. And what they did was their government built a national maritime school. And they got the administration to oversee the management of that. Because you know the BMA right now, how we have an institution called LJM. The BMA supposed to be on a quarterly basis auditing that school. I don't know if they ever did one. Maybe they did, but they need to audit that school to ensure that those things in the STCW code, like officer of under 500 gross tons master and chief mate and engineers of under 3 kilowatt machinery, and second engineer and rating forming part of a navigation watch and wipers and oilers in the engine room. See, these are the things that these courses should be audited to ensure that they are in full compliance with everything the SCCW code lay out to say they got to cover, the time frames, the certification of the lecturer. But they're bringing in people from the Defense Force to do training who never been exposed to maritime from an SCCW perspective. It's a bunch of nonsense.
I agree with you 1,000,000%. However, we're in a serious quagmire, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, who is going to take this? Who's going to take this baton and run with it? Well,
we gotta look at who the law obligates to take it. The Bahamas Maritime Authority. They have. There's a clause in there, not a clause. One of the responsibilities of the Bahamas Maritime Authority is to create and expand for opportunities for Bahamians. Employment of Bahamians in the maritime sector. That's clear as day. So we ain't gonna wonder who's supposed to do it.
But somebody have to drive it.
The ministry who is responsible? No, but maybe who's responsible for the BMA?
To a large degree, some of these things they don't really think is their responsibility.
No, but who's responsible for them? They don't answer to themselves.
From a government perspective, have to drive it, and if the government is not doing it, if the minister who has carriage of the BMA is not doing it, then how do we get this ball rolling, Cap?
Well, we can't get it rolling if the minister who's responsible for ensuring that they do it is actually making sure they do it. We can't do nothing. We just got to make sure the minister is putting the minister's foot on the head of the BMA to ensure, and the BMA board, to ensure that thing called create and expand opportunities needs to be pragmatic. It needs to be practical. It needs to start with the Grand Bahama Shipyard, where most of the employment in the maritime sector. It also needs to go to the mail boats, where they have a bunch of foreigners, right? Hondurans and Filipinos and all the rest of that, taking all the posts because they're not preparing Bahamians to qualify for those posts, especially in the engineering field. The whole Defense Force. We got thousands, but Defense Force got what, 1,500, 1,600, maybe almost 2,000 members. Every single one of them working on every single vessel should be certified in that area by way of the national institution under SCCW to serve those areas. And then you would have a ready team of people who are retiring and qualified to come out and help the industry.
So let me ask you a question then, Cap. The BA board, would it be, do you think it would be...
Two callers, I see two callers on the line. Go ahead, Brother B.
Yeah, just one last thing. Do you think it makes sense then that how do we drive the BMA board to this action? Certainly we've been discussing this for years upon years. So the BMA board and the chairman, they would have an obligation in accordance with
They have the obligation, but they overlook that one. But the minister and the ministry don't ensure that they standing up to that obligation. And that's where this needs to start. Everybody got a boss.
Yeah.
But the people is the boss of the ministry. So me, you, and others who know, we need to keep raising it so the minister and the ministry is trying to start making sure the BMA board and the BMA is doing these things. That's the only way it could happen.
Yeah.
Let me hold the line because I know we still got a little time. Let me clear these two lines to see what this contribution says. Caller, you're on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Hi, Captain Brain.
Hey, my lady. Good afternoon. Good evening to you. How are you?
Hi. I just called to make a comment. I can't hear you too good, but I wanted to make one small comment, right?
Mm-hmm.
In furtherance to Captain Brain's comment, those obligations can also be outsourced and privatized the way that they've done major utilities. You're
not going to outsource the BMA.
No, I'm saying.
So let them do their job. If they do their job, you don't have to outsource. We can stop this outsourcing foolishness, you know. We can put these people foot to the fire, man.
Before you go on a tangent, you never let me finish.
I waiting.
Okay, so if the Philippines saw fit to make a school dedicated to that purpose, and if you think about the Cubans, they also made a concerted effort to outsource their medical training, which they gave to their people for free, right? So those people graduate with their licenses and so forth, so that the country could outsource their services. The Philippines basically did the same thing.
No.
So in the Bahamas, we have a major shipping lane. We have a lot of people doing business in that arena. So outsource the accreditation.
Well, you could take the laws of the books that gives the BMA the responsibility and obligation by law to do this and outsource it to someone else. No, I don't believe in that.
You know, everybody says things can't be done until it's done.
I say it can't be done. I say it shouldn't be done.
Hold on. They've outsourced the collection of the revenue for domestic shipping and maritime. They've outsourced all of the obligations for SECW. They outsourced a lot of stuff in this term.
But I don't agree with none. I don't agree with none of that. Because all of that is
because you don't agree with it. Don't mean that it didn't happen. It's happened.
If you have but you basically all you doing is basically putting a band-aid over the wound. You know, I don't like that. Let the people who you have obligated by law to do these things, make sure they do it. Don't give them no blinds if you can get someone else to do your job.
But they've not made sure, and hence we have all of these little nicks and pieces.
So we see that a problem is.
And about the yacht and the fees is because they've outsourced it. I mean, they've removed it from under the umbrella of the Port Authority and the BMA.
But that's why we're having so much problems.
That's the reason why now you have another entity entering who is putting fees that is not, that people are complaining about.
Then you need to outsource.
The same can be done for the training. If we really want to get Bahamians in those jobs, then that training should also be privatized, I think, because...
No, we already have a national institution that the government pumping money into. Why we got to go do something else? We can make it happen there and make the entity that knows about these things with the obligation to... that the only entity that could order this thing to do their jobs. Why we want to give that to someone else to deal with?
That isn't happening.
But we need to make it happen. That's why we're preaching. We need to make it happen.
Kicking the can down the road.
I ain't kicking no can nowhere.
Is that they have outsourced it.
I ain't kicking no can nowhere. We got to make it happen the way it's supposed to happen because it's on the books now. If you don't take it off the books, please make it happen. That's all I said. But next thing you know, we can try outsource. I'm dealing with people, the immigrants taking jobs that Bahamians should have. You can't outsource, man. Make these people do their job, man. That's my view. But thank you so much for calling, darling. You know you're my bestest. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Bye. Calling on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Ben.
Yes, sir.
The consular just called me from Ragged Island.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. What's the consular saying?
He has photographs of the landing spot of the boat.
Yes.
And some pictures and everything. He has almost a full account of what happened on that day. He was a little boy then, but he has newspaper clippings.
Wonderful, wonderful. So is he going to share that information with those who
said he's going to send them to me,
right?
And I'll see that you get a hold of them. He's going to send them to me by phone.
I think you need to come on the show with me. You know.
I have been considering that.
Just know that the opportunity is always open, eh?
Okay, I got you.
Okay, so. Yeah, so when you get those things, you can call the show and let me know, or you can call me offline. I can let the producer just give you my contact.
Okay.
You can call me offline, and we can go ahead and we can go ahead and get together and look at them and whatnot.
Okay, I want to divulge my name and number to you, but I am holding that for my own personal reasons, because, like I told you, I've never been scared. Well, I am very, very serious.
Man, you know I ain't never scared. So.
but trust me, Glenn, You may not believe it, but some of the things that I would have done, people will tell me they don't think so, but they could go. I will have some more information to you when I see you, and then if I come on the show, I will also divulge it then, because I ain't never been scared in my life.
I with you, my brother. Okay, so that's all the line. The producer's gonna take the information. He's gonna give you my cell number. And if you want to leave your number, name, then I'll make sure we link up.
So once you give me your number,
I
will then contact you and give you my number and give you all the relevant information.
Fantastic.
We'll get together. And like I say, one day I may come on the show. Maybe as early as next week.
That's fantastic. Okay.
I'm scared.
Well, me and you on the same page. So that's all the line. So you can give you my number, and then we'll keep going from there.
Okay, buddy.
Thank you so much. All right. Captain Brain.
Yes, sir.
My apology, man. Thanks for holding.
And look at the gentleman say he's never scared.
Well, you know me and you ain't never scared.
Well,
I know if you changed, but
that's on the point that you and him was both of you were discussing concerning Ragged Island and the type of significance need to be placed on the actual monument and that kind of thing. I would be curious to know, and I'm not sure if he have spoke to this, but is this from a Ragged Islander standpoint?
Well, the thing is,
does he have the endorsement of the community in this regard? And if so, why wouldn't he just get a letter and have the signatures affixed?
They've done all of that.
That should tell. Okay, but then that should inform the government and the minister and everybody else who's responsible for this initiative what the people of Ragged Island request.
They've done that also. They've just done that this week.
Okay, excellent. So hopefully that will aid in moving this whole thing forward. Because I agree that we need to make sure that it's done properly.
Absolutely. So,
but the point that I was, why then? I listened to your previous caller, and if we, why would, I mean, we know that for years we were trying to get a lot of things done within the industry, and there have been many impediments to getting some of these things done. Why wouldn't, for example, outsourcing training and why wouldn't that work for us in this particular instance?
When you say outsourcing training, we have
like for example, we talking about the Grand Bahamas shipyard, for example. They're going to need they're going to need certain amount of expertise. I develop a training school, and I have a commitment from, say, I get approval from the government, who's going to BMA going to be the people who's going to come and certify the school, and I go and engage instructors and the like who are duly qualified, and I'm bringing people to a particular level so that they can have possibly automatic employment within at the shipyard once they will have passed their courses and the like. Why wouldn't that work for us, given the fact that over the years we've had numerous instances where a lot of things have not been done simply because there are institutions who believe that does not fall within the remit.
Yeah, but the thing about it, what you're saying has happened already. The government has adopted the Bahamas, the LJM Institute as the National Institute for the Bahamas. The government is pumping money into that institute. The BMA is pumping money into that institute. So the BMA has an obligation to audit that institution on a quarterly basis to ensure, and if the government and the BMA can get together with that institute, and as a matter of fact, that institute is getting ready to merge with the BTVI to put on even additional courses as one entity to enhance what they're doing. So if the government can get the BMA to get together with the Grand Bahama Port Authority, the Grand Bahama Shipyard, limited to ensure that what they need can be facilitated here, even if we got to bring in instructors from the Philippines, from India, from wherever, just to make sure that those courses would be made available in our national institute. Then why would we have to outsource anything?
Well, I totally agree 1,000,000,000% with the fact that the LJM Maritime Academy would be the ideal entity to drive that particular bus, because we're already pumping money into that now.
Exactly.
And so now I'm not 100% sure. I think it would be perfect, really and truly, when it comes to offering the kind of accreditation that's necessary. And once we sit down with the shipyard and their team, I believe that they would be inclined to also offer financial assistance in helping to drive some of those programs. So I believe it's just a matter of somebody the government and doing what they need to do, and I believe the president of the academy doing what he's supposed to do in driving business and in encouraging business and the like. I believe it can work. It's just a matter of somebody.
We just gotta plan it. We just gotta plan it out, and it needs to start with the Ministry of Transport putting pressure on the BME. That's the only way it can happen.
Well, actually, it starts with one simple meeting between the chairman of the BMA, the Grand Bahama Shipyard. We sit down in a room and we determine what are the needs or the needs now and into the future, and determining how we could put together programs to provide for those particular needs, and I don't believe it's so difficult.
But the chairman of the BMA wonder they ain't looking for no extra work, Somebody got to put pressure on them to do it, and that somebody has to be the minister. That's all I say.
Yeah. Oh, indeed. I agree with you.
That's where it goes, because they know this is going on all along. You remember you got members on that board that were there from day one, and they're still in and still happening, right? So somebody got to put pressure on them.
I wish one day we could be surprised by our honorable minister
Hey, ministers come and ministers go. So this thing been going on for over 20 years. I can't blame no one minister. We got plenty of ministers to blame.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we just need to get it together with whoever that minister is at the time.
Crossroads, really and truly, at this time, because that's an opportunity for Grand Bahama and Grand Bahamians alike, in particular.
Bahamians in general, because Grand Bahama may not be able to supply all of them.
Of course, and so my thing is, this is an opportunity. We had a junction where we could create something for ourselves, and something that's going to be a source of income, and also expand the talent pool within the country.
Absolutely. And then we gotta get on them mail boats too. They're simple. The mail boats is a simple fix. If the BMA cause that institution to prepare engineers and captains at the lower level under 500 ton, because most of the mail boats are under 500, then we could clean sweep all those foreigners out of there, and we get so much opportunities.
Well, the mailboat situation, Cap, is a national disgrace, really and truly.
I ain't trying to. Anyway, we out of time, so.
I'm telling you, it's a national disgrace, because we can't find one Bahamian or two Bahamians who could jump on a mailboat and take it anywhere international, because we don't have nobody who have the requisite licenses.
Yeah, man, we got some people, but we ain't got much, right?
Very few.
We ain't got much, but we need to have enough to cover all of our national needs.
But every time I come on the dock, I all I see is foreigners. I don't see no Bahamians.
Well, you gotta remember now. You gotta remember now. They could pay the foreigners less. So even the mailboat owners, we need to get on their case, eh? Because some of them prefer to have foreigners, because the foreigners ain't gonna leave the boat, number one, and number two, they could pay them less, because they know a qualified Bahamian ain't gonna settle for that kind of pay, because they deserve more. But we gotta fix all of that. But we gotta get the people certified first. Anyway, we out of time, my brother. Thank you so much for your valuable contribution, and we'll keep in touch.
Okay, ciao.
Ladies and gentlemen, we overtime. That is it. You have been listening to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bean. And my wonderful producer giving us an extra 3 minutes is Mr. Craig Gibson. And I thank all of you that have called in to make this show even that much more exciting. And I thank you, listeners. Without you, we wouldn't need to have a show. I wish to thank my good old Annie Mate. Hey, Annie Mate, thank you again for that good talk you give me on Sunday after dinner. And, you know, as always, we say to you, dear listener, Maritime Matters, tick, 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 out.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I'll watch them roll away.